And here we are, first dungeon of the game. And yeah, we're already in the first dungeon, and that's kind of one point I do want to make with this game. When people got him. And we got our second C item, the Deku Nuts. When I see normal people playing Ocarina of Time, I do not usually see them using a lot of Deku Nuts. And they're missing out, because these things are really helpful. But anyways, back to that point I wanted to make. You'll see, if I'm going to recommend a Zelda game, Ocarina is probably going to be the one I recommend the most. If not Breath of the Wild, but Ocarina of Time is still probably like the most solid choice to me. Because you get into like the meat of the game really fast. Because like we haven't been even playing, we've only been playing for like a half hour. And honestly, I've been doing it kind of slow. But I don't see a first timer playing this game for more than an hour before reaching the Great Deku Tree. At least typically. I mean, I'm sure like someone who's like not good at video games at all would take a while, and that's fine. But like, they're still gonna take less time with this typically than basically any other Zelda game, except for Breath of the Wild, kind of, because you're only on that first continent. But at the same time, you get the idea of what the game is like. You know, big open area, the shrines, general movement and stuff. You basically get a good idea of what the game is and what it's gonna be like in that first area. And Ocarina kind of does that too, because, you know, you get to explore the town, you get to talk to people, you get to go to the dungeon real quick. It gets into the action really fast, and that's what makes me recommend this and Breath of the Wild primarily compared to all the other Zelda games. You were supposed to die there, but I guess game said no. You've been spared this day, son. Because as much as I love other Zelda games, and I mean, again, Ocarina's not even like a top 5 for me, but I think one of Ocarina's greatest strengths is its simplicity, and the beginning being as short as it is to get into the action, I think is a big help for that. And here we have the Fairy Slingshot. Because when people recommend games like Wind Waker or Majora's Mask, I think sometimes they forget how much of the opening there is. Because with the Majora's Mask, you have that whole first 3-day cycle, and it can turn a lot of people off. And then with Wind Waker, you've got the Forsaken Fortress, plus all the opening stuff. And the Forsaken Fortress can definitely take you out of it. I don't really think the game starts to really show its stride until, well, really until you get to Dragon Roost. Or start going to Dragon Roost is when I think the game really starts to pick up with itself. And just a quick side note, we have the Fairy Slingshot here, ranged weapon. And as you can see, it's a little tricky to work, but it works. Now, if I was thinking, usually that floating platform that was there, I would have just skipped that entirely, climbed up the vines, come up here, grab the Fairy Slingshot, and then just run back without having to actually use it for the ladder. But, you know, sometimes I gotta focus on what I'm talking about. But yeah, going back to the whole recommending thing. And then Twilight Princess, I don't think that game really gets into what it's about until, like, you turn back into a human from a wolf, and you're in the hero's clothes, and you're going to the forest temple. And that takes a while. And it's not like you can't get into it. I mean, I got into them. And maybe the story is investing you, or you're just actually invested in what's going on. But if you're being bored from a gameplay perspective, and you're not going to keep going with the game because you're just like, well, I'm not really having fun with it. And although you're still interested in the game and like what's going on, the boredom from the gameplay is kind of keeping you away from wanting to play the rest of the game. I think that's a perfectly like fair thing to think, because honestly, some of those beginnings are pretty slow. Skyward Sword too, it takes a while. I think Skyward Sword's honestly not that bad with the startup. Because I think, especially with how story-focused Skyward Sword is, it kind of keeps more with that investment. So it kind of makes sense for it to start up a little slower. I don't know. I think it's more of a game that makes sense to sort of start slow with, if you know what I mean. I mean, again, I wouldn't recommend it first, but as much as I especially love 3D Zelda games, I think I just think one of the biggest problems with most of them is that they have sort of a slow start. And I think that can really not help some people get into them. And that's why I'd recommend Ocarina or even Breath of the Wild first, just because you really don't have to wait that much in order to actually sort of start enjoying the game. from a gameplay point. That's not saying there's no enjoyment to be found from those early parts. I mean, you know, I grew up with them. I played through them. I love them. I still do. But for some people, it's going to really kill the mood for them. Like, if someone doesn't continue with Wind Waker just because the Forsaken Fortress is such a bore, I can understand that, because it's not the best part of the game. Right, here's a little fun way of getting this. That's not what I... Well, that works. Just roll to it, and then attack, and we get it. Now here's one thing that's always bugged me about this dungeon, the Great Deku Tree. There are torches in here. There are lit torch. I mean, I lit this one, but there are lit torches elsewhere. Like, look over there. There are lit torches inside this giant tree. And you know what? Because spoiler alert, the tree dies anyway after we sort of lift the curse, quote unquote. I don't think there's a curse. I think he's dying because he's burning alive inside. Look at this. 4 whole ass torches in the bottom of the root area or whatever. And he's worried that there's like some sort of like curse or arachnid thing sort of dealing this. I'm pretty sure he did this to himself or whoever put these. How these torches even get in here? And look at this. Look at this. We just burned a bunch of cobwebs by lighting in a fire. Well, I guess this is kind of stone-like. Actually, yeah, I don't even think this is part of the tree. I think this is just underground. I mean, why else would these bars be here? Okay, I guess there's some dungeon-like areas, but I mean, still, those are close enough to the roots where I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And rinse and repeat. Fuck. I'll spare you because I already know what you're gonna say, but just talk faster. 2, 3, 1. 23 is number 1. Yes. Navi, please. You're not making this easier. I think there's a trick I can do here. Nope. Okay. I know there's sort of like a trick I could do with like the Hylian shield, I think. Where if I duck down enough, I can just pass under that. But you're really not gonna come here with the Hylian shield unless you're doing all the Golden Skulltulas. Which, by the way, I'm not gonna do all the Golden Skulltulas. Maybe if this was like a live stream and I wasn't recording, I would go for it. But it's like, I've got to go through I'll have to go through a decent amount of footage as is. Like, I'm not gonna add hours and hours of recording just so I can add, like, a significantly less amount of time just trying to find all Golden Skulltulas. I've never found all of them, and I will one day. This is not that day. I'm not doing it. It takes forever. The reward is not worth it. Actually, I don't even... Because you don't even need to move this block or even kill that skeleton. Or Skulltula. You can just... Yeah. I've said... You know what? I've said I know how to use... I said I know a decent amount of strats, and I do know them. I'm just not using them because I'm... Talking over gameplay is hard. And I'll use that as an excuse as to why I lose all the time in my Smash videos. And... Oh, that's no good. Not sure how I got stuck like that. That looks... oddly octagonal. Oh, Lord. I'm just gonna... Okay. Just shoot! Shoot! No! It's right there! Fine. But anyways, you're supposed to be able to shoot these down like I did with the first one. Not the others! But because if you don't shoot them and you go by them, they fall and make little, Goma larvas. Oh, you're not getting away from me, buddy. Oh, wait a minute. I think I just noticed something. Also, they, spontaneously combust when they die, I guess. Check this out. So I Deku Knighted them, and their eyes still, like, sort of glowing. What was that? That was weird. I will say, with this controller, it's a lot easier to do, quick spin attacks, because in this game, you can do a spin attack by holding the attack button and then letting it go. But you can also just quickly do a sort of spin. You do that. You can't see it, but you can hear it. it works. You can do that to do a quick spin attack, and that really does help. Especially because I think when we get magic later and we can do stronger spin attacks, it automatically does like a stronger spin attack. And typically it costs magic, but if you do it with the sort of quick version, you waste no magic. And it's very helpful. Okay, I think we're supposed to go there, but there's a golden skulltula over there. Because the thing, or wait a minute, I think this is yeah, we gotta come back with bombs. The thing about the golden skulltulas is you should still get a decent amount of them, because there are some rewards that you definitely want, like a bigger wallets. The, what was it called? The thing that uses the rumble pack on the N64, but I don't have a rumble pack. I never have, and I want one, but I need to focus on a controller first. It would be nice, though. I mean, I have Star Fox 64, it's just I got it used, so no rumble. You know, I wonder. Do not fall off, Zach. Do not fall off. Do not fall off, Cedar. Yeah! Aww!